A new poll has revealed an Indigenous voice to Parliament is on track to become the first referendum to pass in 4 decades. The polling conducted by YouGov shows nationally 51% of respondents voting yes, 34% no, while 15% were undecided. Crucially, the poll also reaches the necessary requirement of support in a majority of states. Victoria, New South Wales, South Australia and Tasmania all recorded support above 50%. And joining me live from Richmond, Tasmania is Pat Farmer, former Liberal MP and ultra-marathon runner. How are you, Pat?
Yeah, I'm really good. Really good. Thank you, Janie. I'm here in Richmond and so nice to run into town today. I had a lot of kids join me to run the last couple of kilometres on into town, and the support is really starting to grow now.
It certainly is, and you are, for people that might not be aware, you are doing a Run for the Voice, a 14,400 kilometre run across Australia in 6 months. Just a little bit of a run, 6 months. How are you going so far? What are you up to in terms of kilometres?
Yeah, all good so far. I'm up to around about 890 kilometres, so I'll go close to 1,000 just before I finish. I finish in Hobart, and then I'll fly across to Perth. There's a big function organised for the very start of the mainland, which is in Perth. I'll run around the top of Optus Stadium and then continue north from there, work my way up to Broome and then across the top end of the country and then back down on the east coast before turning around at Adelaide and coming up through the centre and on into Uluru.
Incredible. And Pat, what kind of questions are people asking you, and how interested are people in learning about the Voice referendum and what it means?
Look, it's really good. It's really great to see. I think I'm getting to that 15% that you mentioned earlier on, because I've had so many people come and join me for a run on the road or join me at the end of a day's run, and they say to me, look, we just don't know enough about it. Can you tell us a bit about it? And so it's been so good. The simple message that this is about uniting the country, not dividing the country. It's about all of us falling together under one constitution, which is the Australian Constitution for all of us, and making sure that even the people in the very, very remote parts of this country, and I'm talking the Tiwi Islanders, the Thursday Islanders, people up there at Halls Creek and far north, West Australia, etc., have got a voice directly to Parliament. And at the end of the day, it just makes the politicians do what they are supposed to do, and that is truly represent all people in this country.
And Pat, you have set a number of ultra-marathon Australian and world records. Why is Run for the Voice so important to you personally?
This is so important to me because I think, to be quite honest with you, anyone under the age of 30, they're asking the question, why do we even have to vote on this? They consider it to be such a fundamental thing, such a fundamental right for all Australians to have a voice directly to Parliament. They can't understand it. And having said that, it was my daughter that came to me. My daughter's in her 20s, and she said to me, Dad, why don't you do a Run for the Voice? And, you know, the more I thought about it, the more I realised it's probably the most significant run I've ever done in my life, because whilst I've raised money, literally millions of dollars for different charitable causes, and those in need, and raise awareness around those things. What's truly happened in the past is I've raised money for those things, but of course people are still living in poverty. They're still finding it very difficult. With this scenario, if we can get this amendment to the Constitution, then we have a brighter future for all Australians. And I mean, instead of us having a history of just a couple of 100 years, we're adopting a history of 60,000 years, and something for all Australians to be proud of, and something that shows us on the world stage as being a truly democratic nation.
And you mentioned your daughter came up with the idea. How is the rest of your family, with you running around the country? How are they going?
Yeah, they're great. Well, they've always been very supportive. I mean, I'm the eccentric in the family, goes off and does these sorts of things all over the world. I've run the length of India, the length of Vietnam. I've run all through the Middle East and all through the Americas from top to bottom, and even the North and South Pole. So they they just accept anything I come up with these days. But they're all big believers in the voice. They're all big believers in the cause, and I think it's just wonderful to have that sort of support. And it's so hard to do it without it. But the more and more people who get behind me, the more I know I'm absolutely on the right track. And as I say, my job it's not about Pat Farmer setting records. This is about me simply being the thread that pulls all the country together.
And we've spoken to you, throughout this run, and you've mentioned that you've spoken to quite a few people, and people can either, run 5 seconds, 5 minutes, however long they want to, and it's about getting physically involved as much as they can.
Yeah, absolutely, because this is what Australians do best. They roll up their sleeves and they get involved in things. They plant trees, they help their neighbours out in times of crisis. It's about us all getting back to our grassroots again and knowing and understanding what it means to be an Australian. And what it means to be an Australian is not sitting back in an armchair thinking about something or just ticking a box. It's about actually getting involved. And so by people coming out and running a kilometre with me, even 5 metres, even 50 metres on the road, or multiple kilometres. One fella came out with me from Launceston yesterday. He planned to run 5 kilometres, ended up running 40 kilometres, and he amazed himself. He said, "I've never run that far in my life." Don't know how he got home, but I don't know how he got home. But the bottom line was, he was just absolutely stoked to be part of the whole journey. And I want to encourage as many people as possible. It doesn't matter what running ability that you have, or even if you want to have a walk and a chat, come join me on the road and show your support for the voice.
All right, excellent. We've got to wrap it up, but your aim is to raise $500,000. How much have you raised so far?
No. My goal is not to raise money on this journey. We have a GoFundMe page, and that's purely and simply to keep my film crew on the road, to keep the film crew on the road, and to keep the support network on the road so that we can keep transmitting like this and we can get the messages out there. So that's purely and simply just to keep us there. The goal is really about just saying to people, come join me and get involved and think seriously about this referendum, because we only got one shot at it. This is one chance to make a real difference to history in Australia.
Yeah, well, my apologies for that little mistake there. But yes, good luck for the rest of the, the run, 6 months in total. And we will chat to you again soon, Pat Farmer.